Well, again, welcome to Lafayette Community Church. My name is Mike, and this is Lori, and this is Tara, and we just want to welcome you today. And if you haven't been with us before, we like to ask to make sure that you remember to fill out your Connect card, which is in your bulletin, and it's got some blank space on the back, and you can tell us how you found out about the church, and we'll get in touch with you. And then also, if you haven't been with us, we don't always have the couch up on stage, so today's a little bit different. And we're going to actually be getting some people from the church to come and tell us their story. And hopefully, that will bring a stronger sense of connection with not only our church, but also hopefully with God. So.
Okay. My name is Paige Heitzman, and I am a member of the creative team. And as I think they told you this morning, we have a chance to hear stories from people in our church community this morning. And so for starters, we're going to meet Alicia Allen, and we're just going to kind of have a conversation. I had the pleasure of hearing a little more of Alicia's story recently, and so I thought that it was a story that we all should hear as a community of believers. So we're going to start out having a conversation this morning with Alicia. So tell us a little bit about how you grew up, how you were raised, etc., where you're from.
Okay. I was not raised in Lafayette. I was actually raised in Toledo, Ohio, where I grew up with divorced parents, and we really didn't talk about religion. We didn't go to church. We didn't talk about God. We only went on to church with our Catholic grandparents, like on occasion and holidays and things like that. So we just it wasn't even a part of our life.
So tell me a little bit about the impact that not going to church had on you, as a child, and like kind of the turns that your life took through middle school, high school, etc.
Yeah. It wasn't until high school I actually was introduced to God, because I went to a Catholic high school, not intent to ever feel like it was a connection to God. It was just kind of like where my parents wanted me to go. And I started to get interested in God and thought, I could, really understand what he's telling me because of the classes and things like that in school. But it actually happened when I ended my first year of high school. I actually got pregnant with my son, Jacob. I was 15 years old, and then I actually had him when I was 16. So my focus completely turned from my focus on God at 15, 16 years old to being a single parent and a young mom. And so I pretty much kind of didn't really focus on God at all at that time.
Yeah, now I'm sure, being a single parent at 16 years old, you obviously had a lot of other, struggles that you were facing. So when was it that you began to seek out that connection with God again? And tell me a little bit about finding that connection.
Yeah, after high school, I struggled with relationships, and I struggled in not only that, but myself. I was a single parent, and I was had a little bit of help, but I just still felt like there was something missing. So I was looking for a church, and in our Toledo area, there's a pretty big church that is, they just really didn't care about what you looked like, where you came from, what you knew, and I really felt like that was a connection. I mean, I literally could have walked in my pajamas, and they would have been happy with that. And they just really felt genuine people. I mean, I really felt like they would have the answers to all of my questions and be there for me when I needed them.
That's awesome. So you're, a single mom, and you've now found this new church back in Toledo, and you're kind of feeling a sense of acceptance there. And I know that you had mentioned some relationship struggles throughout that, mm-hmm. I'm sure dating some new people. And so tell us a little bit about who you found in Toledo and what that was like.
Yeah. After about 8 years of going to my church, I was in Bible study and in groups and things like that. And I finally found my husband, Chris. When I first met him, I really didn't know, because of all the troubles that I had had with relationships. I was just kind of wary of men, and just saying I wasn't sure if he was going to be different. But when we got to know each other, I found out that he believed in God, and that was the number one. When I was praying for somebody, I really prayed that God would put somebody in my life that believed and was going to take the path with me. So once we met, that's when I knew that Chris was somebody that I was going to spend my life with.
Sure. Now, when we met personally, you had said that part of the allure of Chris was also that like he had it all together, and you hadn't dated a lot of people who believed in God, but also kind of were the total package. You know, like had it all together. You felt like he was gonna, lead you and take care of you. And so, tell me a little bit about how quickly you got married, and then what kind of happened within that first year or so of marriage.
When Chris and I first met, I didn't have anything. I was living with my parents at that time because I hadn't have moved back. I pretty much lost my job. I had my car repossessed. I was like in a hole. Like God was my best friend because I was praying all the time. So I really think that Chris really like came in and he just was a really nice, genuine man to say, you know what, I'm going to be here for you. I'm going to help you. I know you can do this. And he was really like my backbone of the whole thing.
How quickly did you get married?
We got married within 6 months of knowing each other.
Yes.
So we really knew that it was just like, hey, why go on any further? And we really had that whole mindset of like, we are crazy or what's going on? So we really just decided that it was going to be a commitment for life.
And you were like confident that this was going to be like the perfect relationship, right? Like you were feeling like God put this man in your life and you're on the right path and everything's going in the right direction. And so then what happened?
We got married in a planned wedding in Las Vegas. And when we got back, we knew that Chris's job after 10 years was going through some ups and downs. And they had always had layoffs and things like that. And he had been there for 10 years. And when we got back that same month, they had asked him if he was interested in taking a buyout. Chris had just graduated with his master's degree that May, and I was, at that time, it was November of 2008. So we got back and we were like, okay, well, we're going to get a severance pay. We're going to, you have your education. This isn't like a no-brainer. We're just going to go ahead and jump into it and find another job.
And that didn't quite happen.
That didn't quite happen that way, no. So after all of that had happened, Chris, we waited every month, and Chris would apply for more jobs, and he would wait and then apply for a job and a couple jobs. And I mean, I think he applied for 200 jobs, maybe 300 jobs in the Toledo area, going out as far as, an hour away to commute and things like that. And it just wasn't finding anything that was the income and that would help our family. We were still living in our house. So about 10 months later went by, and all of our resources ran out. We had family resources run out. We just pretty much had to make that decision to make the next step, whether it was going to be downsize in Toledo or move to Lafayette. And that's really what happened is we decided to move to Lafayette. Chris started applying into jobs here, and Chris's family's here. So we thought, hey, why not be closer to family?
Yeah. So I think it just goes to show that like when you believe that God is going to lead you in one direction, he, typically has other plans and takes you in a totally different direction. So he moved you from Ohio to Lafayette, which is where you are now, and you found LCC. So tell us about finding LCC and what kind of drew you in here to this community.
One of the reasons that we kind of even held off the move was because of our church. We just felt really connected with it, and that was like, I was in tears over our church, just like my family. And when we were searching for churches, we found LCC and thought, this is exactly like home. I mean, we really felt connected, and we felt like, they're exactly the same kind of people. They want to, they have a great outreach program. They're getting involved in people's lives outside and inside the church. I mean, we really felt like that was the reason why we were like, we love LCC so much.
Yeah, which is so cool. So, we really just wanted to kind of give you guys a glimpse of Alicia's story today, kind of what has brought her here to LCC, and I'm so grateful that we got to hear your story. So in closing, kind of share with us over the course of this last year, now that you're here at LCC, how has God been moving in your life, and what are the ways that you're really feeling connected through your relationships here at church?
I think mostly, I'm definitely blessed to have the support system. I can call pretty much anybody in the church and talk to them and have them pray with me. We can, have them pray weekly, even if we write it on the card and all that. But I think that just having the Bible study, like when we first came to the church, we were able to get in a Bible study, I think, within our first or second week.
Through the life groups.
Through the life groups, yeah. And I love, the stories that we tell each other. I love the connection. It's like another family to have. So really, it was just, a blessing in that to have everybody, there for us and not even know us. I mean, really.
That's amazing. Well, I think you guys would all agree that Alicia's just such an inspiration because she sits up here and talks and kind of like takes you through these ebbs and flows of her life and seems to like never waver. Like her voice and her belief in God just does not waver, and it's just a real inspiration to me. So, thank you so much for sharing with us today. You guys can all give her a round of applause. Thank you. And we're going to direct your attention to our next story, which is going to be on the video screen. So, thank you again.
Thank you.
I'm Eric, and I'm part of the creative team, and here with Ben Smith today. I'm just going to talk a little bit about how God has been active and working in your life. So Ben, if you want to maybe just give us a brief background and kind of where you hail from.
Okay, I grew up Methodist. That's where my family went to church in Linden my entire life growing up. And we went pretty much every Sunday. And I would say, I liked it at the time, but looking back on it, I would say it was more of a task than a desire.
So you spend your life in Linden, going to the church down there. Fast forward a little bit now, you're obviously here in Lafayette, going to school.
Yeah, I started college at Purdue in '07, so I started looking for a church around Purdue, and I grew up Methodist, so there's a Methodist church on the west side that I checked out probably in the fall at some point, and I went there, and it was maybe double the size of the church I went to in Linden, and when I went there, I don't remember if anyone ever really talked to me. Like, I went in, they shook my hand when I walked in, I guess, but I sat down and no one sat around me, and I got up, I kind of lingered, like hoping, strike a conversation, but nobody really talked to me. And then I didn't really go anywhere for a little while. I would say there was a period of about 3 or 4 months where I hadn't been at church, and I started missing it actually. And so my parents actually started looking for a new church too, and Mom found LCC on the internet. At the time it was called Southside Church, and so she asked me if I wanted to check it out with her, and so I joined them there. And that service, it was really great. I would say interaction was a key point in that service. Like, I talked with lots of people that I'd never met before in the church, and talked with Jeff for a while afterwards. And I really enjoyed the message